his words echoing through our family's worn-down diner. Nothing. Who do you think you are, turning down the manager position to go to college? I stood my ground, acceptance letter from Harvard Business School clutched in my hand. Around us, my siblings watched with mixed expressions: pity, contempt, and in my youngest sister Amy's case, a hint of admiration. The diner is failing, Dad, I said calmly. We all know it. My inheritance from Grandma can either go to propping up a dying business or you can abandon your family? Mom cut in, wiping her hands on her apron. Like you're better than us? My older brother Mike snorted from behind the counter. Let her go. She'll come crawling back when she realizes the real world isn't impressed by her fancy dreams. I looked around at the peeling wallpaper, the outdated equipment, the empty tables. Chen's family diner had been a neighborhood staple for 40 years, but times had changed. The neighborhood had evolved. We hadn't. I'm not abandoning anyone, I said softly. I'm trying to build something better. For all of us. Better. Dad laughed bitterly. Then your family's legacy? Get out, Claire. Get out and don't come back until you learn where you belong. That was 8 years ago. Now I sat in my private office on the 50th floor of the Victory Tower, watching the sun rise over the city. My company, Phoenix Enterprises, had become one of the largest hospitality and restaurant groups in the country, though we operated under different brand names. Names like Golden Dragon Restaurants, which had just hired my brother Mike as a line cook, and Heritage Cafes, where my sister Amy had recently started as a waitress, and Classic Diners Inc., which had just acquired the failing Chen's family diner, though my family didn't know who owned the parent company. Miss Chen. My assistant David's voice came through the intercom. Your father's interview for the district manager position at Classic Diners is in 20 minutes. I smiled, touching the Harvard diploma on my wall. Perfect. And my mother? Orientation at Heritage Cafes begins at noon. She doesn't know you're the owner. None of them knew. They'd all applied to my companies separately, desperate for work after the diner finally went under last month. Each thinking they were joining successful corporate chains, never realizing every paycheck would come from the daughter they'd dismissed. Have they noticed each other yet? I asked, pulling up the employee records on my screen. No, David replied. They're all at different locations, though they're all scheduled for next week's company-wide management training. I smiled wider. Where they'll learn their new company's philosophy, structure, and ownership. Exactly. I stood up, straightening my Armani suit. Well then, let's not keep my father waiting. After all, family comes first, doesn't it? The company-wide management training was held in Victory Tower's Grand Conference Center. I watched through one-way glass as my family members arrived separately, each clutching their employee handbooks, none expecting to see the others. Claire. Dad's voice crackled through my earpiece. Your father just arrived at reception. He's complaining about the dress code requirements. I smiled, remembering how he'd mocked my fancy business clothes years ago. Now he wore an ill-fitting suit, required for his new district manager position. The recognition happened slowly. First, Mike spotted Mom across the lobby, both freezing in confusion. Then Amy walked in, stopping mid-step when she saw them. Finally, Dad emerged from the elevator, his face turning interesting shades of red as he realized his entire family was there. What are you doing here? I heard him demand through the security feeds. You all work for Classic Diners, Mike said. Heritage Cafes, Mom added. Golden Dragon, Amy finished. They stared at each other, realization dawning that they'd all sought jobs from the same corporate giant, Phoenix Enterprises, without telling each other. Welcome everyone, David's voice announced over the speakers. Please proceed to the main conference room for the Phoenix Enterprises orientation. I watched them file in with the other new managers and employees, taking seats far from each other, pride still stinging from their shared circumstances. The lights dimmed and the presentation began. On the massive screens, Phoenix Enterprises' success story played out, how a young entrepreneur had built a hospitality empire from nothing, revolutionizing the industry while maintaining the heart of family dining. Our CEO believes in preserving family businesses while modernizing their approach, the narrator explained as images of successful restaurants filled the screens. Every establishment we acquire maintains its unique character while benefiting from our resources and innovation. Dad shifted uncomfortably as pictures of recently acquired diners appeared, including Chen's Family Diner. Is that? Mom whispered but fell silent as the next slide appeared. There I was, accepting awards, speaking at conferences, building the empire they'd said I couldn't achieve. Though they hadn't seen me in 8 years, hadn't bothered to follow my career, my success was now literally being projected larger than life before them. Please welcome, David announced, the founder and CEO of Phoenix Enterprises, Claire Chen. The room fell silent as I stepped onto the stage, every bit the success they'd said I'd never be. Designer suit, confident stride, the bearing of someone who commanded not just a room but an empire. 8 years ago, I began, looking directly at my family. Someone told me I was nothing without them, that I needed to learn where I belonged. Dad's face went pale. Mom's hands trembled. Mike stared at his shoes. Well, I did learn where I belonged, I continued. I belonged everywhere they said I couldn't go. Every height they said I couldn't reach. Every success they said I couldn't achieve. I pulled up more slides, the growth charts, the acquisitions, the billions in revenue. Phoenix Enterprises now owns over 500 restaurants, cafes and diners across the country. We employ over 10,000 people. And yes, I smiled slightly, that includes everyone in this room. The realization hit my family like a physical force. They weren't just working for the same company, they were working for me. Some of you, I continued, my eyes moving from Dad to Mom to my siblings, are here because your previous businesses failed. Because you refused to adapt, to innovate, to see beyond what was comfortable and familiar. Amy looked up, tears in her eyes. She'd been the only one who'd supported my dreams, though quietly afraid to oppose Dad. But Phoenix Enterprises believes in second chances, I said. In building something better from the ashes of failure. In proving that success isn't about where you come from, it's about where you're willing to go. After the presentation, I had David escort my family to my private conference room. They filed in silently, the fight and pride drained from their postures. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, they could see their old neighborhood, including the newly renovated Chen's Family Diner, now a gleaming example of modern nostalgia under my company's management. Sit, I said, gesturing to the leather chairs. We have a lot to discuss. Claire, Mom started, her voice small. We didn't know. That's the point, I cut her off. You never tried to know. Too busy telling me what I couldn't do to see what I was building. I touched a panel on the conference table, bringing up their employee files on the wall screen. Mike, line cook at Golden Dragon, 3 warnings for arguing with management. Mom, waitress at Heritage Cafes, struggling with the digital ordering system. Dad, district manager at Classic Diners, resisting our modernization protocols. The old ways worked fine, Dad muttered, but without conviction. Did they? I pulled up Chen's Family Diner's financial records. Is that why our family business lost money for 5 straight years? Why we couldn't afford basic repairs? Why we served the same menu for 40 years while the neighborhood changed around us? Amy spoke up softly. I tried to tell them, Claire. About delivery apps, online ordering, updating the menu. I know, I smiled at her. That's why you're being promoted to Regional Innovation Director. What? Dad straightened in his chair. But she's the youngest. Age doesn't matter, I replied coldly. Competence does. Something you never understood. I stood, walking to the window overlooking the city, my city, where Phoenix Enterprises had transformed hundreds of failing family restaurants into thriving businesses. You said I was nothing without the family, I continued. But look around. Everything you see, every restaurant in our portfolio, every job we provide, every family business we've saved, that's what I built while being nothing. Mike finally spoke, his voice rough. Why hire us? Why not just let the diner fail? Because unlike some people, I understand what family really means. I turned back to face them. It's not about blind loyalty or doing things the way they've always been done. It's about growth. Evolution. Building something better for the next generation. I pressed another button and more images filled the screens, the diner's planned renovation, the modernized menu, the technology that would bring it into the current century. Chen's Family Diner will remain a neighborhood cornerstone, I explained. But it will succeed because of innovation, not nostalgia. Because of progress, not pride. And us? Mom asked quietly. That depends, I replied. You can either learn and grow with the company or stay stuck in the past. Your choice. But this time, you'll have to earn your positions. No special treatment just because you're family. Dad stood up, anger finally breaking through his shock. You think you can just buy our family's legacy? Control us with your money and power. No, Dad, I said calmly. I already did. Every paycheck you've received, every order you've filled, every management decision you've made, it all came through my company. My vision. My success. I pulled up one final document, their new contracts. You have a choice. Stay and learn how a modern business actually works or leave with nothing. Again. This is revenge, Mike accused. No, I corrected him. This is business. The business you said I'd fail at. The success you said I couldn't achieve. The future you refused to see. Amy stood up, walking to my side of the table. I want to learn. To be part of building something better. One by one they signed the contracts. Not because they wanted to, but because they had no choice. Their pride, their outdated beliefs, their resistance to change, all of it crumbled in the face of undeniable success. Welcome to Phoenix Enterprises, I said as they finished signing. Where family isn't about holding on to the past, it's about building a better future. As they filed out, Dad paused at the door. We were wrong, he said softly. About everything. Yes, you were. I sat back down at my desk. Your training begins tomorrow. Don't be late. Phoenix Enterprises values punctuality. They left and I watched their reflections fade from my windows. Below, the city buzzed with activity, thousands of employees working in my restaurants, serving customers in businesses I'd built while my family thought I was nothing. Sometimes success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about becoming so undeniably right that they have no choice but to work for the very success they said you'd never achieve. I picked up my phone, calling David. Schedule a family dinner for next week. At the renovated Chen's Family Diner. Let's show them exactly what nothing built while they weren't watching. After all, the best